It's the fastest racing track in the world. The high banks and wide open surface invite speed. It's Michigan International Speedway, home of the Michigan 500. But increased speed in close racing can spell disaster. At 230 miles an hour, reactions must be instinctive. Even the slightest hesitation can turn a beautiful run into a terrifying ride. A driver's perfect day can end not just by his own mistakes, but by those of others. The concrete wall streams along inches away, almost inviting. But even the slightest touch is devastating. Last year, the Michigan 500 was a contest of youth. Paul Tracy battled with Scott Goodyear in a duel that went on for miles. And ended with Scott Goodyear's first IndyCar win. Now they're back. Paul Tracy with 3 wins this year, the hottest driver in the series. Raul Boesel, 3rd in points. Skilled, consistent, searching for a win. Englishman Nigel Mansell, 2nd in points, and chasing the new points leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. The race for the PPG Cup is flat out. Michigan International Speedway, it's the 13th running of the Michigan 500. Hello, I'm Paul Page, and in many ways, this is IndyCar racing's toughest day. Unlike Indianapolis with its long straightaways, on this 2-mile high bank speedway, 2/3 of the lap, you're turning the car, and the G-forces are trying to push you out of the cockpit. And consider 2 awesome speeds over 230 miles an hour. And a terrific front row, Ford-powered Lola chassis. A great veteran and a great rookie. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, for the 2nd consecutive year, Newman Haas Racing owns the front row for this Michigan 500. Again, Mario Andretti on the pole with a record-breaking speed. But as he looks to his right on the outside pole position, no, it's not his son Michael like it was last year. It's his teammate Nigel Mansell, a rookie here at Michigan, but so important to Nigel Mansell this qualifying effort because he is still embroiled in a very heated points chase for the National Driving Championship. And for more on his foe, let's check in with my colleague Gary Gerold.
Jack, one of the great surprises of this race weekend has been the search for speed for season points leader Emerson Fittipaldi. He starts back here in 15th position in the 8th row. You've got to go back 6 years to the last time he had a worse qualifying position. But he's with some very interesting company. He's got Bobby Rahal to his immediate right. He's got Al Unser Jr. right behind him. 3 veteran winning drivers, more than 60 wins between them in their careers, better than 10 miles an hour slower than that front row. They've got a lot of work to do in the 500 miles ahead. Paul?
So very definitely some surprises in the way they line up here for the Michigan 500. An interesting qualifying session. Let's look at the starting field. On the pole, it's Mario Andretti, his 66th career pole in a record-shattering run at 234 miles an hour. Outside is Nigel Mansell, the 6th time he sat on the front row this season. Row 2, the inside is Arie Luyendyk. He came from the last row to finish 2nd here 2 years ago. Alongside, Raul Boesel ran 3rd in last year's thriller. Row 3 to the inside is Paul Tracy, going for his 3rd straight IndyCar victory this afternoon. And Scott Goodyear, the defending champion. In row number 4 on the inside is Scott Brayton, the only driver who has started in all 13 Michigan 500s. And Teo Fabi, who finished 2nd in this event in 1989. Inside row 5 is Robbie Gordon, going for his 6th straight top 10 finish. And Lynn St. James, the first time a woman has qualified in the top 10 since 1979. Row 6 inside is Roberto Guerrero, making his first Michigan start in 3 years. And Hiro Matsushita, his best qualifying effort in his 4-year career. Row 7, Willie T. Ribbs. This equals his best starting position ever. And Stefan Johansson, his first start in IndyCar racing's fastest event. Row 8 is Emerson Fittipaldi. His first IndyCar win came here in '85. And Bobby Rahal, twice a runner-up in the Michigan 500. In row 9, it's Al Unser Jr., who won the fastest 500-mile race ever here in 1990. Outside, Buddy Lazier, who ran 7th last year. Row 10, David Coudray, who finished 8th at Phoenix. And Olivier Briard, a freshman from France. The 11th row, Marco Greco, a graduate of the Indy Lights. And Jeff Wood, an 8-year veteran. Row 12, Ross Bentley in his 2nd Michigan 500. And 8 of the 23 starters in today's field have never taken a green flag here at Michigan. Lynn St. James waits. We'll start the engines in a moment.
The Michigan 500 is brought to you by Valvoline. People who know use Valvoline. By Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this. And by your local Yamaha dealer, who invite you to see their exciting line of motorcycles, ATVs, and water vehicles.
Back at the Michigan 500, just a few minutes away from the start of the engines now. Sam Posey, we're talking a sport with many new faces.
Well, of course, at the beginning of the season, Nigel Mansell appeared like a shooting star. But as the year has developed, two new faces have thrust themselves to the forefront. Paul Tracy, because he has led more laps than anyone, and Raul Boesel, because he has completed more laps than anyone. Both men took what we thought we knew about them and have changed our minds. Paul Tracy, the 24-year-old Canadian, was known to be fast, but he seemed too mistake-prone to be a regular winner. For 6 seasons, Raul Boesel had been solid but unspectacular, apparently destined to run forever in midfield. But all that changed this year. Tracy won Long Beach, his first IndyCar victory. A fluke? It seemed that way as he returned to his crashing ways, but then came Cleveland, win number 2, and then Toronto. 3 wins, and suddenly Paul Tracy was hot. Boesel stepped from the shadows onto center stage at Indy when he raced from the front row into the lead. Penalized during the race, he was still smoldering a week later when he seized the pole at Milwaukee. He went on to finish second. Both Boesel and Tracy started their careers early.
My dad was at one time was doing a lot of work for General Motors, contracting, and there was a go-kart track on the way out there. You know, during the summer, we had a pickup truck, and he'd drop me off there for the day, and he'd, you know, at 8 o'clock in the morning, he'd come back and pick me up at 5, and I'd be, you know, just about out of gas when he showed up, and so that was, you know, I'd spend my summer days at the go-kart track.
Well, I always liked cars, but I followed the footsteps of my oldest brother, which was a Joe Jump horse. But like I said, I always liked cars and so on, and I have a friend that bought a go-kart. You know, my mind just went like completely the other way, and I said, well, that's what I want to do.
Both have won championships. Raul, with his Mr. Consistency style, won the World Sports Car Championship in 1987. While Paul darted and swerved to brilliance in Indy Lights. When Paul's running hard, he enters what he calls the zone.
The car just gets hooked up, and you can just go anywhere on the track that you want. You know, I felt that a couple times this year. You know, I just got myself into situations where, you know, didn't leave enough room to get out of it, and I was already committed, and I got stuck in the box and couldn't get out of it, and that's what cost me the race today.
It was very frustrating in Indianapolis, of course. It's something that I try to put away from my mind. I knew that day I was the best driver, the best combination, team, driver, and this gives us, you know, the insurance that we're here for real.
Raul, his wife Vera, and their 2 children live part of the year in Miami. Climate there is similar to his home in Brazil. For 10 years, his career has been successful, not spectacular. Now all that is beginning to change, and Raul is ready. For Paul, the motorcycle is for relaxation. For fitness, it's a mountain bike. His life is changing fast, too. He and his wife, Tara, have a young daughter, and Paul's future may soon become that of a racing superstar. Paul Tracy, Raul Boesel, 2 different paths, both to the top.
And Paul, the man that has guided Paul Tracy throughout his racing career is Rick Mears. And Rick, in 1991, you won your last 500-mile race, in fact, your last race ever, here in this Michigan 500. Then, 1 year ago, in 1992, he was forced out of the car with a painful right wrist, decided that he would call it quits at the end of the season. But you're back as the Grand Marshal. So many great memories here for Rick Mears.
A lot of great memories, but I think, you know, really, this has always been my favorite racetrack besides, so it's probably only fitting that it was the last place for a win and also the last race that I ever ran. I've always loved this racetrack.
Well, as Grand Marshals, they usually either let you sing the national anthem or give the command to start engines. They decided to let you do the honors today. It's all yours, Rick.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the Marlboro 500, start your engines.
361 cubic inches, turbocharged engines, developing nearly 800 horsepower. The chassis itself, 1,550 pounds. Composite materials, high tech, high speed, and they are going to be tested here today. In this starting field today in the chassis, 3 Penske chassis, the rest are all Lolas. And the engine combinations today, 10 Cosworth, the rest are Chevrolet with the exception of 1 Buick and 1 Cosworth DFS. So now they sit poised and ready to go. Nigel Mansell, the outside of the front row. Mario Andretti sits on the pole. We'll be back. Back at Michigan International Speedway for the Michigan 500. Bobby Unser, 3-time Indy 500 winner. We're talking speeds here over 230 miles an hour. They're awesome.
Well, Paul, 234 miles an hour is over 350 feet per second. Now, that's faster than Rick Mears' closed course record set in Indy cars right here at Michigan and with unlimited boost. Now, in a race, it means you have to constantly look over half a mile ahead. Anything closer and you can't really react to it. In the high bank turns, that means you're looking way up and to the left, almost over your shoulder, just to find the exit of the turns. And at the same time, the 5 lateral G's are trying to push your head out the right side of the cockpit. Now, this race is not only a test of driving skills, but also a strength and endurance test for both the driver and the cars.
So plenty of challenges, and 250 laps, 500 miles lie ahead. We'll look again at the grid. Mario Andretti and Nigel Mansell make up the front row. In row number 2, it's Arie Luyendyk and Raoul Boesel. The third row, Paul Tracy and Scott Goodyear, the 2 Canadians. The fourth row, Scott Brayton and Teo Fabi. In row number 5, it's Robbie Gordon and Lynn St. James. In the 6th row, Roberto Guerrero and Hiro Matsushita. In the 7th row now, it is Willie T. Ribbs and Stefan Johansson. Row number 8, Emerson Fittipaldi and Bobby Rahal. And in the 9th row, Al Unser Jr. along with Buddy Lazier, remarkable qualifying. In row number 10, David Coudrave and Olivier Griard. And the 11th row, Marco Greco and Jeff Wood. And in row number 12, all alone, Canadian Ross Bentley. Marco Greco has had some problems getting started. You can see his car is still sitting in the pit box, and they continue to work on it with the cowling off, but it's obvious he won't take the green flag for this Michigan 500. Once again, 250 laps lie ahead, 500 miles. And on the line today, the race analysis, race record of blistering 189 miles an hour. Scott Goodyear, of course, his only IndyCar win coming here last year. And the fuel stops, well, if they run green, should go to about the 33rd to the 35th lap. Temperature, there is a chance of rain with 70 degrees on the track right now. So the possibility of showers. They've been missing the track for the most part here today. But there is that possibility, and we'll keep an eye on that as well. So now behind the PPG pace car, the field lines up. The points fights in the Indy cars, well, it just changed at the last race. Nigel Mansell has been dominating most of the year, but now Emerson Fittipaldi is in front. You ride with Bobby Rahal as the field begins to align now, coming off of the 4th and final corner and turning toward the green flag. Nicely aligned, but as Mario comes ahead, the green flag does come out. Mario got a good jump on the rest of the field. Nigel Mansell slides into 2nd place, and the rest of the field comes on through. Mansell dropping back now as Luyendyk coming forward to begin to challenge, but here comes Mansell once again, and Mansell moves for 2nd place as he moves very low on the race course. Remember, this is his first start on a super speedway, high bank of this style. And Mario Andretti turns in for the line and takes the first lap, while the battle for 2nd is between Luyendyk and Mansell. Now Mansell looks to the high side as they head down into turn 1. Luyendyk holds a mid-course line and pulls away from Nigel.